Good afternoon, everyone. Sharice Jervis Hill here, president and founder of Events to Remember and PR to Remember with our entrepreneurs podcast called Coffee with Cher. And I have a nice treat for you this afternoon, Mr. Vance Morris. He is the founder of Deliver Service Now Institute. Let me repeat that because I messed that up a little bit. Deliver Service Now Institute. Vance, how are you this afternoon? Welcome to Coffee with Cher.
I appreciate it. I'm doing really well. A little chilly, but it's okay.
It's all right. We'll get there. So cheers to you, friend.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, so let's get into it, Vance. So tell our listeners, tell us a little bit about your company and how you got started. Take us down that journey.
Sure thing. Well, let's go back a little ways. I spent a decade working for the mouse at Walt Disney World. So
Fun.
it's really, yeah, most days it was fun. There were a couple of trying days, as you can imagine. So I took all of my Disney knowledge and I've packaged that up into some strategies and tactics that I show small businesses now how to create experiences for their customers, which, well, if you know anything about Disney, they are masters at extracting money from your wallet and leaving you feel happy about it and want and wanting you to do it again and again. So pretty much that's kind of what I show businesses how to do is create those experiences that people talk about, that people, makes you referable, that word of mouth marketing. And I mentioned that again and again. Well, Disney knows how to get you to come back. And so for business owners, that's the whole customer retention piece. How do we get people to come back and spend with us again, whether it's a cross sell or an upsell or just another service with us? So that's really where I've spent a lot of my time focusing really on those two areas.
Got you. So yeah, Disney does a great job of that. I feel like we all can definitely relate. I remember those Disney days when my children were younger. So yes, for sure. Um so what do you feel sets you apart, Vance? I'm sure that Disney, I hear that their training and development is pretty awesome. So I'm sure that you really have picked up a lot of nuggets along the way that really help set you apart. But tell us a little
Uh,
bit about what sets you apart.
Sure. Well, I think, one of the things, I mean, certainly Disney taught me a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the things that Disney taught me that most people don't realize, they wouldn't think. I mean, people ask me, what did you learn from Disney? Customer service or customer experience and things like that. And it really wasn't the first thing. Disney is all about systems and process.
Mm.
And when we were opening up the Yacht and Beach Club Resort, this was in the early 90s. We walked into this big meeting room and there were just stacks and stacks of binders everywhere. And I asked my boss, I'm like, what is all this stuff? And this was before everybody had a computer, and we
Yeah,
certainly
before
didn't have
online. Yeah.
certainly didn't have phones yet.
Yeah.
Um, and he goes, "Well, these are all of the SOPs and OJTs on how to open and run a Disney resort." I was, gee whiz. I mean, I was floored. I mean, these
Wow.
binders are, 3 and 4 inches thick, and
Hmm.
uh, but so I took that lesson really with me through the rest of my career when I was doing corporate stuff, and then when I went out on my own. So one of the things I hadn't mentioned is here in Maryland, I own 3 home service businesses. So I've got
Hmm.
a mold remediation company, a oriental rug washing facility, and a traditional carpet cleaning company.
Hmm.
So I took all of my Disney knowledge, the service stuff and customer excellence and all that, and of course all of the processes and systems, and I put it in those 3 businesses. And what I found is that when you have processes and systems in your business, they give you freedom.
Hmm.
They give you a lot of freedom
Yeah.
because now you're not putting out fires, you're not, running around. You're just managing the system.
Yeah.
And that freedom it gave me was to go out and start coaching and consulting with other businesses. So now I got a general manager that
Mhm.
runs those three businesses. I spend about 90 minutes a week on those businesses. I cash some checks, I kiss some babies, and I spend some time with the general manager. That's it. The rest of
So,
my time is spent in my other business.
so what sets you apart would be your strategy and your systems and processes. Is that what
Yeah,
I'm
well, I think that what sets me apart is that everything that I teach, I've already done it in a real bricks and mortar business. You
hearing?
got to watch out. There's a lot of, gurus out there, that they've never run a real business. They've never run a coffee shop. They've never run a clothing store or an online store, but yet they're out there telling you how to do marketing. They're telling you how to, do
Hmm.
your operations, but they've never done it.
Yeah.
And, to me, that's very disingenuous. That's
Hmm.
dangerous, actually.
Hmm.
But with me, one, I've done it. Two, still doing it. So all the strategies and tactics that made my businesses successful is what I teach.
Yeah.
And so I've got some street cred, for lack of a better word, that says, hey, look, I, I've done this. And
Yeah.
if anybody wants my books, I'll show them. I said, look, here's my numbers. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's really the big separator. Aside from the fact that there's not a lot of people out there talking about implementing customer experience strategies
Hmm.
in order to create word of mouth marketing, in order to have some price elasticity, being able to stretch your prices. I think those are really the big separators.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, all of those are very important pieces. I mean, I what you said before about people kind of talking the talk without walking the walk, it makes me think of social. You see a lot on social media, people, having comments and just saying, that they're an expert in this and doing this and doing that. And it's like, where, show us,
Yeah.
so definitely good stuff there. So anything that's new for you, Vance? Anything new happening that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah. So, as a coach, um, I I tell people a lot, but I can't make them do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can you lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
And so I think it was probably about 5, 6 months ago, I got really frustrated that you know my coaching members, they all have these great ideas, but they're not implementing anything. So instead of banging my head against the desk, I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it for you. So I created a done for you customer retention system in a box. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a subscription model, but it's all the stuff you need to really put a big fence around your customers to keep them in and your competitors out. And
Mm.
there's a done for you newsletter in there. There's a done for you promotional postcard and weekly emails, and it comes with coaching and help with your editing and all that. And when you implement that, I mean, it's really expensive to get a new customer. I mean, I don't know if your listeners measure that, which they
Mhm.
should be.
Yeah.
But getting a new customer, it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the cost to market to your existing customers, it's literally pennies on the dollar compared to getting a new customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that investment is well worth it. And so I created this system that really is done for you. You put a stamp on a newsletter, send it to your printer, and the thing's ready to go. So I've taken a lot of the work out of it. And again, it's just stuff I've used in my carpet business for the last 17 years. I know it works. And it's really it's simple. See, marketing systems don't have to be complex. You get too complex, stuff starts to fall apart. I like to keep things really simple
Yeah.
because then anybody can do it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can be half brain dead and it'll still work for you.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's 3 steps to keep your customers literally for life. And that's really what I've been focusing on for the last few months, and really through this year is really that program.
Awesome. Sounds exciting. So, last question, but my most important question, because this podcast is dedicated to, it's for entrepreneurs, and we really want to be a resource and share nuggets that will be helpful for them, that would help their businesses grow. So, any advice that you would share, Vance? Maybe it's a new entrepreneur who's just starting out and needs some tips, or maybe it's someone who's been in business for a while and hitting a rough patch. It's important for me, as the founder of this podcast, to make sure that we're really giving value to our listeners, that they're really listening and they walk away with a nugget that they can like implement tomorrow. So,
Certainly.
anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, a couple of things real quick.
Awesome.
First and foremost is never take your foot off the marketing gas pedal.
Mm,
Um, and I started my business, my carpet cleaning business in 2007, which was the beginning of the first recession.
yeah.
Great year to start a business, right?
Hmm.
But I never took my foot off the gas pedal. I was out there, grassroots marketing. I did what I had to do. I was,
Hmm.
stuffing mailboxes, mailing stuff. I didn't have a lot of money. So you go, and instead of mailing postcards, I didn't have a lot of work to do either. So I drove around and shoved postcards in the mailboxes.
Hmm.
So you just because you don't have a lot of resources doesn't mean you can't be resourceful
Resourceful.
in getting your message out there.
Love that.
Um, Certainly today, and I'm sure on a lot of your previous podcasts, you've heard good ideas.
Hmm.
What I found, and as in my example, there's a lack of implementation. They
Mm.
hear great ideas, but there's this lack of implementation. Take one thing you've heard today or in the last week and go and do it.
Hmm.
That's where people fall down, is they just don't implement, and they're like, oh, nothing's working, my business is slow, and I'm like, well, what have you
Hmm.
done lately? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, nothing. uh, and that's difficult. And then my last thing would be is that a lot of business owners use passive marketing tactics. They'll throw up Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts, and they expect people just to respond to that.
Hmm.
And it's just noise out there. It's just getting lost in all of the hubbub of all that stuff. Um, if you want business, pick up the phone and call one of your old customers and just check in. Say, hey, Mrs. Smith, it's been a while since we served you. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just calling to check in and see how you're doing. So use your time wisely. You've got a slow period, pick up the darn phone and call. People love that. Um, and it could be good for business too. You never know. You pick up the phone, and the fifth person you call said, you know what? It has been, a little while since we had the carpets cleaned. Why don't you come on out next week and get it done?
Yeah. The
Right there.
I will just say, to the social piece though, I personally feel social media has really helped grow my business. So I'll say that I don't necessarily agree with it being noise. I think it's a great way just to be out there.
Oh,
So
no, no, I didn't mean that.
yeah,
I mean, it gets lost in the noise.
got you, got you,
No, no,
got
no,
you.
I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not putting it down.
Yeah,
I'm saying it gets lost in the noise of,
got you.
a Facebook
Yep.
feed or things like
Yep,
that.
yep, yep. Okay, got you. Okay, I just
Sorry,
wanted
yeah.
to
Ooh, good
clarify that.
gracious. No, and never mean to disrespect the host. Sorry about
No,
that.
they're not just no, not at all. I just want to, say that I think there's definitely value,
Oh,
in
certainly.
that.
Yes,
But
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So those were great. Any other tips you want to share? Those were two solid ones.
Um, no, I think that's a good one to end on.
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, Vance, where can they find you?
Sure. Best place is on my website, which is deliverservicenow.com. And if they want a free how to wow their customers, I've got a new hot sheet out called 52 Ways to Wow Your Customer Without Breaking the Bank. And it's really all low and no cost ways. You can do one a week. It's 52 weeks in a year. And you can find that at wow52ways.com.
I love the fact that it's 52 weeks. So you're challenging all of our business owners, all of our entrepreneurs once a week. Vance is challenging you. I love that. Well, thank
Yep,
you for being here. Thank you for sharing those
pleasure.
nuggets. And we will talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.